This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live. Live from Palm Beach, and those two lights in the background, that's where Mar-a-Lago is. And that's where President Trump is not. He's either in New York or on his way to France for the opening or reopening of the Cathedral of Notre Dame. What a beautiful occasion that'll be. I'm very worried about Daniel Penny. I'm very worried because this judge, who is another acting Supreme Court justice, remember which one? No, Inga Moron was elected 3 times without opposition. Minuch, what the hell's his name? Minucci, with the daughter who made half
Juan Merchan.
Oh, Juan Merchan. He's
We like Mnuchin.
He's sort of another actor. He's been about 19 years. He's been acting Supreme Court judge. You think he'd be acting long enough they could figure out if he should be a Supreme Court justice or not? And this guy was a Court of Claims appointment of Pataki originally, but then reappointed by Democrats. And then he's also an acting Supreme Court justice. Well, he's not doing justice, I'll tell you that. I mean, first of all, this damn case should have been tossed on a failure of the state to prove its case. When numerous witnesses showed up and said they were scared to death and thought this guy might kill them, it made Penny's defense very, very strong, and it made it really completely ridiculous to assume that the evidence proved either one of those two counts beyond a reasonable doubt. Remember, it's the city and the state that has the burden of proof here. And Penny doesn't have to prove he's innocent. They got to prove he's guilty. And even if he raises self-defense, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it wasn't. I mean, well, okay, of course, anyway, that generally would be true, except if you were like Trump or me or someone like that in this Democrat corrupt court system. But the jury comes back after 3 or 4 days and says, we're hopelessly deadlocked. And he sends them back. And he says, I'm not accepting a hung jury. I mean, that's his discretion. That's his right to do that. He gave him an Allen charge, which, if you understand trial law and you understand these cases, was warped. And basically, he might as well have stood up with a little sign saying, make sure you convict him, at least on the second count. And then he nailed that home when they came back and said they couldn't reach a verdict. And he basically dropped the first count and left it with just the second count and sent him home. I mean, he might as well give him a handwritten note, convict him of a criminally negligent homicide. I don't know why this guy is so bloodthirsty to harm Daniel Penny, who to me should be getting an award. Some people have suggested that President Trump pardon him. Well, President Trump can't pardon him. It's a state case. Well, what he can do, he could give him the Medal of Freedom, couldn't he? I would have given him a medal. If I were the mayor, within a day or two of his doing that, of his saving all those people from a maniac who announced a number of times that he was going to kill people. I mean, how often do you listen to a maniac pulling his coat off, yelling and screaming on the subway and scaring the shit out of people? How long do you wait? And then what you're going to watch is him kill 3 people. So this young man, Daniel Penny, a sergeant from the United States Marines, stepped in and did the best he could to try to save those people. Those people are indebted to him, but are a crooked DA, a product of Soros and this unbelievably corrupt Democrat system we have in New York, which is, might as well be, you might as well be in a fascist state if you're in New York City. So now he sent them home, dropped the first count, and he's basically telling them, convict him on the second. Why do we get these judges? I don't know. They're not American judges. They don't seem to understand American law, and they certainly don't understand fairness. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have a special guest.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time,
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Well, here we are. I think you know who that is. That's Steve Bannon. An American hero for sure. Absolutely. Only bad mark against him is he did the forward to my book.
Love this book.
Poor guy. I mean, he's praised for everything except that.
Here's how important this book is. Right now, as we sit here doing this show at the White House, they're working around the clock to come up with. And Rudy, explain this. What is a blanket preemptive pardon? No, a blanket nomenclature at their fans. Blanket preemptive pardon. They're working late. Because of this book right here, and maybe Cash's book too, which I just happen to bring.
But this is scared the hell out of him. When he named Cash, they started peeing. I'm sorry, but when he named Cash, you know the one thing that's terrible though, Biden. Well, maybe he won't remember. Biden would know all the criminals to pardon because he committed the crimes with them. But he's so deranged, he might not remember.
Here's the reason I came. Here's the reason I came by tonight is that the pardon of Hunter Biden. And when I got out of prison, the very first in my news conference, I said that that Biden should pardon the son because if he went to a place like Danzig or low security or medium, he'd be dead in 24, 40 hours because he's not a man. He's a boy, and he couldn't take the pressure. But when they gave the pardon, Rudy, it made everything that Rudy Giuliani had done for years and worked with President Trump on the investigation of President Trump got impeached on because they took it back to 1 January of 2014. Burisma, Ukraine. They told you, they signaled by going back, and people said, well, they just took it 10 years to this. I said, it's not true. It's 11 years.
Right.
They even broke 11. They went back to the beginning. They went back to what Rudy Giuliani and then the president, and then what the president, if you want to find out why they went back 11 years, it's in the book, right? Biden crime, but it exonerated you of all the stuff you'd done and been on TV all the time. And it exonerated the president for the first impeachment. It was a perfect phone call. You guys are trying to do an investigation of where America's money's gone. Right now, as we sit here on a Friday night, Ukraine's on fire. Romania just canceled the election because the source candidate was losing. So Romania, the court has just kicked out all the election until next spring. Turkey has announced that they're moving into Syria. Georgia's on fire. That whole arc, that whole crescent up there of instability that's been the Balkans is now on fire. It could have all been stopped with President Trump not stealing the 2020 election. It would have never happened.
Yeah.
And Biden's proven they're worried. Folks, they're in the White House right now, working around the clock on blanket preemptive pardons because we've nailed them on this thing of giving Hunter Biden a pardon back to 1 January of 2014, before the color revolution, before the shakedown, where they went in and Biden took all the money. And then they had the gall on the gall to impeach President Trump in the first impeachment, to try to destroy him and throw him out. These people are the worst, lowest sets of criminals. And here, let me give you a warning. You can run, but you can't hide. We are going to track you down to the ends of the earth and bring you to justice.
That's why I love him.
It's worth a Friday night, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a Friday night.
No, but it's true. Is it true?
Yeah,
Everything you worked on?
True.
When I saw that, and I'm the guy that advocated him out of prison, I said, this kid will not last 48 hours. He's not a man. These prisons are very dangerous. And then when I saw it, I go, oh my God, they went back to 1 January. They proved our case. They proved the whole point.
There is a real legal question as to whether it's the one thing that a president can't do, which is to give a pardon that is for any and all things you might have done.
No, dude, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
And if
in the known universe or unknown,
right.
I've never seen anything like it. Even Nixon's was tighter.
Several great articles that I bothered to read about how the pardon power emerges from the King of England, and it was actually based on the Sacrament of Confession. And the king couldn't pardon you for what he didn't know. So the king had to know, and therefore he had to say, it's worth pardoning you. So even if it's just categorical.
Oh, wow.
Like all the crimes in front of Leon Jaworski. Okay, that's categorical.
Right.
But now, I mean, let's say Hunter was selling drugs on the side, which is quite possible, right? Most addicts do. He's pardoned for that. He's pardoned for if he raped some girls or whatever he did.
Or sex trafficked.
Yes, any
all crimes known and unknown for a period of time that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
Have you ever seen a pardon like that in your life?
Yes, Nixon's.
No, Nixon's was not for pardon unknown or unknown.
Yep.
Was it?
Yep. The only other pardon. And of course,
it was for every crime known or unknown.
Every crime during his presidency. Committed or may have been committed. They use the same language.
No. It was known or unknown. This one said known or unknown.
May have been.
I'm gonna do a fact check here. I'm not a lawyer.
I'm gonna show you. Okay. I'll show you in a little while. I'll show you the language. Okay. But they virtually plagiarized the Nixon. They virtually plagiarized, and I found the one law review article by this professor who said it was unconstitutional when it was.
Nixon's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't come on because he wouldn't say this was unconstitutional. Somehow he's trying to find. Ted, he was hiding from you, right?
Do you believe that the way they phrased Nixon's was unconstitutional?
Not for the core crimes, but for everything. Yeah.
Right. Because you're saying the king couldn't do it. So it's based on English. Since it's based on English common law.
To tell you the truth, I haven't researched it.
Okay.
I think it's a legitimate argument. And it's hilarious that the left-wing professors are running away from it now. When the shoe's on the other foot. Well, you know what?
When you saw the time that went back to 1 January 2014, we first saw it. Did you say
yes, absolutely
that they've proven my case?
Yeah.
They're so nervous about this.
March 2014, Burisma Hyder.
Exactly. March 24, and then we had the color revolution, all of it. And this is what galls me. They impeached Trump knowing the crimes they committed because the pardon tells you that. And they impeached President Trump because why? It was a perfect phone call. He wanted to get into the basic, hey, if we're going to send more money, if we're going to do this, we need to have some sort of process. We need to have a process to make sure that the money that the American taxpayers have put there has been put to use and has not been skimmed.
I mean, there's no question they were worried about that date. But even more than that, the whistleblower, who now the FBI has discredited, claims there's a tape in which both Hunter and Joe were given up front $5 million each. And now they're saying the whistleblower is not telling the truth. And a mutual friend of ours thinks he may have access to those tapes. But that would have been also like in March and April of
Well,
2014.
what happens when on the afternoon of the 20th of January, with the access now to the information at the embassy, in the State Department, in Justice Department, in FBI? What is because this has to be it has to be totally transparent.
Mhm.
Would the peanut gallery gets a role here?
Yeah, doctor.
What the hell? What the hell? That's a hey. I don't work with children, dogs, or female co-host. I got 3 divorces, okay?
Female.
We're robbing this train over here. What is this? Very mouthy. As Royce Wright told Joanne Reed, you're very mouthy. No. But I digress.
No, you're right.
No, but Rudy, this has to be done in a way because it's not retribution. This is about we can never allow this to happen again.
Of course.
And we have to do it to bring the country together around this. It has to be transparent. It has to be methodical. It has to be systematic, has to be adjudicated in front of the nation and the world that we will never let this happen again. How would you go about and do that? Since you're the best at doing this.
Who would be available to prosecute? Joe. And let's see how many he pardons. Pardoning himself. Well, there's another interesting constitutional question.
By the way, if he pardons a bunch of these guys associated with, let's just take the Ukraine part of it. If he goes and pardons a bunch of people,
like Blinken could be prosecuted. Blinken did 3 or 4 meetings with Burisma and with the number 2 guy at Burisma, who knows who might fold. And
you mean Flip?
Yeah, Flip. I'm sorry, I use my prosecutor stuff here.
Yeah,
and I mean, a lot of people in Ukraine are now offering stuff. You got to go sift. Cash will have to sift through it, but he's going to.
White House, you should understand that people are blowing your phone up. People are coming to people now saying, "Hey."
People who would tell me things off the record and say, "Well, I'll never testify to that," but they have foreign bank accounts. And here's the person who knows.
People in Ukraine have foreign bank accounts?
No, the Bidens have foreign bank
accounts. Yes. First of all, what are we going to do? Is he going to pardon the family? Let's go back to the 23 million. See, here's what galls me. When you're at this level, you become a PEP, a politically exposed person.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, that's an official title. When you get to a certain rank, either I think assistant to the president, what you've been, Rudy, you're at Treasury, you got to turn over all your bank accounts and they monitor every transaction that goes on in your bank. That's one of the things you're giving up is your privacy. So they've had a Treasury now for years. The actual MTG and Nancy Mason tested when they were doing that. They go over there and the file is this thick on the Bidens. They have every transaction. Mike Davis says it's $23 million in wire transfers to different family members from both the CCP and the state-owned companies in China, CCP, and in Ukraine. That all information is there.
I know.
And by the way, Treasury knew of it, and Treasury knew about it in President Trump's.
Even when we had our secretary there,
we had our own. When Mnuchin was there, I'm not faulting Mnuchin. My point is because that's the administrative and deep state. Yeah. They're not sitting there telling you, oh, by the way, when Trump's getting impeached, we do have a file. This thing. She said, MTG believes the first thing you should do is have a sex trafficking investigation because she said a bunch of this is for women they transported over to actual, I guess, sexual purposes. But this was her on the show. She said the file is this thick. And it's with all the wire transfers. And we know as people that are, and these are Democrats or anybody that comes into a government at a certain level, they tell you, you're a politically exposed person. All of your transactions are going to be monitored by the SWIFT system, by Treasury, by the FBI. And that's what you kind of agree to, or the understanding is, hey, that's what I'm giving. That's kind of like, serving in the military or something. They're going to do this. That information, ladies and gentlemen, has been out there and we know about it. So when Mike Davis says $23 million, how does he not pardon then? Because some of these are in like grandchildren's names. As you know, you've gone through it. They've set up all these shell companies to get the money. So how does he not give blanket preemptive pardons to dozens of family members?
It'll be
no, you know what it'll be? The Biden crime family. Read it here. No, here's the great thing, because we made a film on Cash's book. We're going to make one of yours. The timing of this book and the timing of Cash's book are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because when Biden dropped out, you would think, oh gosh, well, it doesn't matter. This matters now more than ever. Because this is going to be an ongoing, this gets to be the heart of what the problem with the American empire project is. And this is why the founders and framers of our country warned us never to become an empire like the British. They broke off because they saw what the crown did to corrupt commons and take away, which was at the time, the world's best democracy. It corrupted commons. Why? Because so much money can be made overseas. The British East India Company, and here you're seeing it right here. This is what this is the underbelly of the American empire. This is the payoff. This is the graft. This is the state crony capitalism. This is taking every bad practice throughout the world and bringing it back to the Oval Office in the West Wing. That's where the book's got to be written. And this is going to be timely 5 years from now, because we're going to be into this. And people in the White House tonight, because we know you monitor this stuff, lawyer up.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's what I would tell some people. It's better to come forward, because if you get the pardons, you don't have the Fifth Amendment. Rudy's going to come after you even harder. We're going to drag you in front of every committee. There's going to be other lawsuits out there. There's going to be other crimes. You're going to get rolled up in this and perjury charges, all of it. You should come clean. You should just come clean and roll on these guys now.
Well, I just want to assure you, if you get pardoned, I figured out a way to prosecute you, but I'm not going to tell you now.
No, you can't do that.
But
That's for the sequel of the book.
We'll get you. But remember,
we have to do it for the good of the country.
Remember that Zelensky's rabbi, the guy who made Zelensky a multimillionaire, probably did all those transactions through Privat Bank, Kolomoisky. And
don't start using too many. My brain's going to hurt. So Friday night.
But
so long, Rudy gets it, and don't bring the yellow pad out. I used to get on Laura Ingraham with the yellow pad. He'd be throwing out Ukrainian names, and I need
a shame.
No, dude, we can't go back to the old days. My brain would freeze. the Laura Ingraham still hasn't gotten over it.
The reality is that Zelensky has this whole thing. He got much more than I have or anybody has.
You mean information about what happened? Yeah, of course, it's a protection. Now we're going to do on the show tomorrow. Ben Harmon's going to come in from Italy. There is a news report that's now getting into some of the Eastern European papers that they have set up for Zelensky to go to the West End of London, and that's where he's going to be set up. It's kind of his golden, what do you call it when the dictator leaves?
Golden parachute.
Yeah, golden parachute. They're going to get him into London, and he's going to be protected there because Zelensky knows where all the bodies are buried
in his country and in America,
and how much dirt's on top of each one.
And so,
right,
that's a lot.
Right. This is the way he's kept himself alive.
Of course, yeah. His predecessor was given a major bribe in the same case as Biden to drop the case, probably around $50 million. I mean, they don't talk about small amounts of money. Remember
was the thing that screwed up their operation is that they never envisioned. No one ever envisioned. Because he doesn't have a 3-digit IQ. Nobody ever envisioned that Biden would actually come back and be president. The whole thing was to hermetically seal it. The reason this thing for them is coming unglued, and this is what they're sweating over the White House right now, is that nobody ever dreamed in a million years. If you saw the House of Cards the first year, the dumb guy from the Commonwealth, the governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, was basically predicated on Biden's character. Right. As a guy who would never be president. He was too dumb. Remember, Obama and those guys used to mock him all the time. He wasn't quick enough. They never figured he'd be president. And once he got to the presidency, that's why I was able to unwind, because you got on his case. Trump got on his case.
Yeah. I mean, Hillary supposedly talked him out of forced him out of running in 15, 16 by saying she was going to bring out all the Hunter stuff. Because there was an article in the New York Times in
December. That's why I love Hillary. She's so mean. She's hard.
In 2015, if you go back and read it, there was an article in the New York Times that flagged.
I think she's a dominatrix. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know, but she's so brutal.
I was once very critical of Bill Clinton about the Lewinsky thing. I didn't criticize about any of the others. And Dick Morris said to me, "You don't have to wake up and look at Hillary every morning."
Wow, you went there, Rudy. I guess I was instigating it. I guess I started. I normally can't let Rudy off the leash. You don't know where it's going to go, right? We've almost been canceled 5 times, but
it's true. A poor guy. I mean, you can't.
Oh no.
So we're getting a lot of questions from our very active comment section tonight, and we've got maybe 2 of the best people to ask a question like this. What do you? I guess there's two parts to this question. What is MAGA looking for the president to accomplish in the first 100 days? And then what do you two, as experts in this in this space, what do you expect him to accomplish in the first 100 days?
Well, I think they actually have laid out, because of reconciliation and everything, is that let's say we have 3 lines of work. Number one, we have the Third World War, the start of the kinetic part. President Trump has to engage immediately. I mean, tonight, as we sit here, from Russia to the Ukraine to Romania to Turkey, that arc of now to Syria, Israel, Lebanon, that arc of instability is on fire. The world is starting. That's where World War I, that started the bloodiest century in mankind's history, it's replaying again. Trump has to step into the middle of that, and I think you're going to see big engagement of that. Number two, the debt, the finances, the disaster. I think they've said that's going to come second. The invasion of the country, third, is going to be the first. They've already said between legislation, they're going to get through reconciliation, right of the box, plus executive orders, Stephen Miller, Homan. So you're going to have wall paid for, other things on the border immediately to seal the border, maybe even troops or at least augmentation down there, plus engagement of the frontline countries, executive orders, the beginning of mass deportations, and doing it in a humane way. You're going to see massive that. And they've already said, I think deportations, border security first, the debt ceiling, the tax cuts, all that second, to come in the second part of the 100 days, and going concurrently is the war. In all of that, you're going to have the investigations and DOJ. And I would tell people that's parallel processes. So just strap in. It's going to be wild, but people are going to have different verticals and responsibilities for those verticals. You'll have the Treasury guys on the NEC on top of the economics. You're going to have the State Department. You're going to have the Defense Department, the National Security Council on top of the wars. You've already got Homan, you got Miller. You're going to have Kristi Noem, also State Department dealing with the invasion on the southern border. So multiple lines of action. The Senate and Thune, those guys, and Johnson have already told you 2 sequences on the reconciliation. 1, seal the border, take care of that. Number 2, the finances and economics.
I think that sounds about right. And also, as you're doing that, you got to clean out the deep state.
Well, that's the administrative state is going to be.
You got to clean it out.
First, I think the DOJ and the appropriations and Russ vote converge together to actually have a certain thing. But then you've got the investigations. You've got what Cash is going to do at the FBI. I think that, and I would tell the audience, does everybody take a deep breath? There's so much to do in the first 100 days, 6 months. That to me has got to be done very methodically.
Of course.
I think appoint a special counsel. I might throw it out there if Rudy Giuliani's dance cards not fall. Would first off, would they melt down that Rudy, or at least be a senior advisor to it? You get a young Turk in there, and Rudy's the senior advisor, and Mike Davis is a senior advisor, and a couple, the Viceroy Mike Davis, Rudy, and you do very methodically, because the investigations and the taking down the administrative state, not the financial mechanical part that Vivek and Elon with Russ vote in the appropriations process. This is the way we get around the constitutional question, plus the impoundment. That is all finance and reordering government. The investigations to basically the righteous indignation that we have to bring the criminals in front of the nation has to be done methodically and that's why I think you take time, appoint a special counsel, right? Special prosecutor. He names a group of senior advisors, you, Mike Davis, others, and we get on with it, right? Is that what you agree with? That's a program?
And of course, as you outlined it, different people do it. It's not as if one person has to do it.
Different verticals. The president, pointing back to the president.
The president sits on, and that's why getting his people through is so important.
Yeah.
You can't do it if he has people who don't agree with him.
Right. And remember, the nomination easy. I want to go back to one thing, the unitary theory of the executive. In the unitary theory of the executive, what they're trying to show is that we know the Constitution lays out three things the president is supposed to do as president. He's the chief executive of the government. He is the commander in chief of the armed forces. But the third, he's the chief magistrate and the chief law enforcement officer. Ever since Watergate, Rudy, they've hived off the Justice Department, particularly after Hoover, and the FBI, right? And they've hived it off and had basically more and more progressives run it as an independent, as a check on the executive, right? With the intelligence agencies. That's where you have to get back. And Trump, with his new attorney general, he will then now be the chief magistrate and the chief law enforcement officer. And that's what makes him melt down. That Trump and the Constitution, we have to get back that. And inside the executive branch, because you still have checks and balances with the legislative and the courts, inside the executive branch, Brennan and the CIA and the FBI, they don't get a check and balance on the executive. The president is the head of the executive branch. The unitary theory, he's the chief executive, he's the commander in chief, and he's the chief magistrate.
Absolutely. In fact, he has the obligation under the Constitution. He has to make sure the laws of the United States are faithfully executed. That isn't just a power that he has; it's an obligation that he has, and he takes an oath to do it. So the idea that you can delegate that completely has always been very, very dangerous. And what did it result in? It resulted in completely politicizing the Justice Department. Maybe they had good intentions originally, but I think the big switch was Obama, and that's where they really
Remember with Holder?
when I think Holder was
the most partisan.
Yeah,
of
the
all
most part. He just turned the whole Justice Department. It completely turned the whole Justice Department.
He might have been calling the shots. A partner at Covington and Burley, a hitter. Obama's a constitutional lawyer, kind of wandering off the prairie, right?
He's also a communist.
But Holder called a lot of shots, right?
Yeah.
He was
Tougher guy.
He was the enforcer.
Tougher guy.
He was the enforcer.
I mean, Obama was trained as a communist, but he's not exactly the most efficient, the most effective. The Holder's a tough guy. Holder worked for me. He once sent me a letter thanking me for training him. You didn't know that?
Oh no, I did. You trained,
Holder is
speechless.
Holder.
Yeah, J6ers. The full pardons for everybody.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Even the ones who committed some kind of crime that Bragg would never prosecute in a million years, by the way.
Look, they arrested J6 people this week. They started trials this week. You're in the face of people right now because now the American people rendered a verdict. You guys the opposition put democracy, their version of democracy, up on the ballot as number one. The American people rendered a verdict. It was a landslide. And now the Justice Department and Graves are still arresting people. Okay, I tell you what, you're very cute doing it. The people that did the J6 investigation, all of them, I think they're all criminals. I think they have to be investigated. When they punch out, I'm telling you, any law firm you're going to go to, we're going to dog the law firm. We're going to dog the clients of the law firm. We are not going to sleep. We're not going to sleep until until justice has been served, because you people are the criminals, not the J6 people. All of J6 ought to be pardoned, all of them.
And somebody should take up the investigation of the first-degree murder charge for Ashley Babbitt.
She was killed in cold blood, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
And they've hit it. And we got to find who on Capitol Hill hit it and protected this.
That was a setup, and that all of J6 was orchestrated, completely orchestrated. I mean,
how many federal agents do you think at the end of the day, the investigation is going to be done?
I mean,
Graves, Ray, Chris Ray, he's going to be investigated. He's going to have time. He's going to have time to ask that question in court. Ray's going to get asked that question. Lisa Monaco is going to get asked that question. Merrick Garland. We're going to find out how many federal agents, why they didn't allow Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of DC. It's going to be a long list. It's going to take many years. It should take many years. This has to be done in a methodical process with total and complete transparency. Total and complete transparency. We must show the American people this being done fairly. And the evidence alone will condemn these people.
Yeah, and you just bring the cases that are powerful. And once you bring them and prosecute these people, the American people will be convinced the right way. And if it's a close case, you don't bring it. I mean, we don't.
No,
it's not our job. It's not our job to prosecute people that maybe didn't do it. It's our job to prosecute the worst ones, and forget the little. I mean, all the little people, the people at the top.
I don't know. The little people should worry. Should get lawyers and lawyer up. Go into debt. Go into debt. Worry. Be anxious.
Well, like all of us.
Be anxious.
Right.
I can tell you the prisons are dangerous, drug-filled. Just be worried, be worried. Now, if you have something to say that maybe can relieve your anxiety, right? That you want to get off your chest, that maybe you want to talk with, there'll be people. That's part of the process.
Good prosecutors
have plenty of opportunity.
Good prosecutors are always willing to make a deal, to get somebody more. Look at Sammy the Bull, right? Sammy the Bull. That's how you got John Gotti.
19 murders.
Yeah,
5 years.
I didn't do that deal, but whoever did,
five.
I would have probably made the same deal. I made deals with deal with a guy who did 13 murders, and he was was a very sick joke. The 13 murders because it was he ended up on an unlucky number. I think he wanted to let us have him go out to do one more, but we never did. But 13 murders. I had a guy who chopped up 49 bodies.
Can we take another question? Rudy's going to go down memory lane here. We're going to go down 49 bodies.
Vito, 49 bodies, chopped them up.
We're getting a lot of questions about this lawfare, of course. Michael Gottlieb is the name of the lead attorney, but these big law firms such as Wilkie Farr, is it possible that they will feel the pressure with President Trump's big election victory?
Well, I think it's not President Trump. I think we have to go and we have to expose their clients. We have to tell their clients, listen, this is the heroism of Rudy and Boris and these guys. Go back to 2021. When President Trump left the tarmac, there wasn't a who's who in Washington, D.C. to see him off. Okay. When he got here, there weren't lines. There was tons of MAGA support, but I'm talking about hitters and players.
Mm-hmm.
It was not, he was a lion in winter.
You and I remember for sure.
And this is where very few people had his back. And no major law firms. I had a couple of major law firms I had been clients of for years and paid millions of dollars, right? My thing, I was fired as a client. And they came and told me, they said, look, we got to do it because the corporate clients are saying we can't represent Trump or the senior people around.
An outrage.
It's
a complete outrage.
It's a total outrage. But at the time,
no bar association done anything about it.
Nothing. And this is what, trust me, the hunted are now becoming the hunters. And places like Wilkie Farr got to understand no more free shots on goal. You're going to go and do what you do, then fine. But you're also going to be exposed for what you've done, and your clients are going to be exposed. And if they want to still be associated with you and the partners there, then that's fine. But the only way this is going to stop is when we stop it. Mm-hmm. You're not going to sit there and say, oh, fine, we can move on. We're not moving on. Just like the 2020 election. This was a time in this republic. And if we don't get this right, or what happened during that time, in full transparency to the American people, including the 2020 election, including January 6th, including what happened since then, including all the corruption in Ukraine and the CCP of people selling out their country for cash money, right? Yeah. Unless that's done in full for the world to see, then we have not done our job. This revolution, this movement, this MAGA movement, which is still in the top of the first inning, has not cleansed the temple of the American government. It must be purged. It must be hit with a blowtorch. And we have not dedicated our lives to this. And folks got to understand, we've seen some pretty dark days, right? We've seen some pretty dark days. And hey, you know what? The thing of this and this guy that
I can't even imagine.
Oh no, 4 months. That's look, prison's dangerous and tough, and not many 70-year-olds can handle it. But I'm talking about the dark days of 21 and 22. Right. And I'm talking what you've gone through. This man is a hero. If you saw what he did in 20, but you know, the heroism of you is resilience. They can't break Rudy. They're trying to break Rudy. They're trying to bankrupt him, take his law license, destroy his reputation, all of it. He's just the same fighter he is today, right?
Yeah.
But you still got Rudy, and he's not going to quit, and we're never going to quit.
No, I'm not going to quit until
now. The only problem we have, folks, is people on our side of the football are always going to sit there and go, okay, you got to moderate. You can't do this. Hey, I'm just going to give you, and I apologize. We're still the hour for the people who wants to moderate. Go fuck yourself, right? We're not moderating. No moderation. I'm sorry, Mike Lindell TV, the Christian network. I'm sorry.
I think Mike could be okay with it.
I'll go to
Mike.
It's another guy that's trying to bankrupt. They're trying to bankrupt. The FBI stopped him. The jackboots in the FBI stopped him at a Wendy's and took his phones. Right there. Someone once they get your phone, we got everybody in the phone, and we'll track all those guys. Those days are over.
Yeah, I think it's unbelievably outrageous that they're trying to still get in as many of those J6 people as possible.
They arrested a bunch of Swiss.
Yeah, I know. I mean, have they done 1,000 of them? 1,000? They've done 1,000.
1,000. Biggest investigation. Listen, with everything that happened in our country, from World War II to the communists in this country to what happened during Vietnam, what happened in the time they were asleep in the walk up to 9/11, of which this man helped save the country. Of everything they missed.
Right.
This is the largest, he brags about it. I tell you what, Garland, we're going to make your J6 investigation. You're up there, the largest investigator. It's going to be a suppository, bro. Here's what I love. Here's where we know they're cowards. Where are they right now? They're sweating on a Friday night, looking through the thing. Can we give blanket preemptive pardons? Hey, you do it. Here's what you ought to do. Number one, lawyer up. Number two, get your passport out. Make sure it's current. Number three, make sure you go to a country that doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States of America. We are going to go to the ends of the earth to track you down. And here's what I'm so proud of. Nobody on our side ran. We got 1,000 people in prison. You got guys from Roger Stone to everybody else you're persecuted, right? You got Rudy bankrupt. You got other people in bankruptcy. You got all of it. And not one person left their country. You know why? Because we believe in this country, believe in its people. No. We will never run. We didn't run. And we turned around and we put it in front of the American people. We put it in front of the American people, and the American people rendered a verdict on November 5th. And you know what they said? These people are evil. We want them out. And we're empowering you to get in and clean this mess up and make sure it never can happen again. And that I commit to you, we are going to do.
That's brilliant. Absolutely right and absolutely necessary to straighten out our country. I mean, every one of us has an obligation to leave this country. Every one of us has an obligation to leave this country better than was given to us. And right now, if we didn't do this, we would fail in our obligation to do that. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Steve has a few more things to say.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news, even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are...
This is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back with America's Mayor Live. And I have to ask Steve Bannon, and Steve has been really eloquent in laying out our obligation. I have a confusing article here from Robert O'Brien. Do you know O'Brien? So he's supporting cash.
Robert O'Brien was the national security guy. Yes.
So in the beginning of the article, he says, Mr. Patel will be a worthy successor to my friend, Director Christopher Wray. I read that and I almost get a heart attack.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that line.
A worthy successor to my friend Christopher.
By the way, Christopher Wray, who at the Justice Department was the protege of Comey and was Chris Christie's lawyer. How the hell did we end up with Chris? Hey, just saying.
But now,
just saying.
Now I want you to look at the end.
Okay, fine. Keep going.
All right. I have no doubt that Mr. Patel will return our top flight FBI agents to fighting crime and arresting the gang members, terrorists, spies, and traffickers whose activities have surged. Under his leadership, the FBI will no longer harass parents who speak up at PTA and Catholics who attend Latin Mass. The FBI is America's premier arm. It should never be used as a tool of a political party or an ideological agenda. Who the hell do you think did that? Christopher Wray. So how's the guy his friend and he's a worthy successor? Why do we do this bullshit?
This is also, and O'Brien's a good guy, but this is also what I call the modern. This is what they want to do. They want
the company to explain this.
Okay, fine. You want to do that?
This is ridiculous. Okay. My friend Ray. And then
but this is a whole thing.
And then he corrupted the FBI worse than J. Edgar Hoover.
Hang on. Let me have this. Okay. This I think was in the Wall Street Journal.
Today.
Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
Not the New York Wall Street Journal. Who owns the Wall Street Journal?
Murdoch.
Rupert Murdoch. This is all. Look, this is what.
Sucking up to Rupert.
Yeah. What they want us to do is he says, "Oh, we're going to get back to this." No. Robert O'Brien. Here's what we're going to do. Step one, we're going to go down to Pennsylvania Avenue, right there, where the brutalist architecture looks like a fascist architecture of the 30s. That building. We're going to empty it all out, all 7,000 people. Okay. We're going to take it apart brick by brick. And like the Romans had a Carthaginian peace, we're going to salt the earth around it and nothing, we'll make it a park. Nothing ever will be built there again because it is a black mark. Robert O'Brien, the FBI under your good friend Chris Wray became the American Gestapo.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Comey and your friend Chris Wray is out of control. And for all the people who sit there and go, Brian Kilmeade, oh no, but the 35,000 agents are so good. There are some good guys. Come forward.
Yeah.
You still have time to come forward because I don't want to hear the excuse that the SS used at Nuremberg. I was just following
100%.
orders. That's not good enough. The
100%.
same thing at Nuremberg. Oh, I was just, Goring's defense at Nuremberg was, hey, what are you trying me for a made-up thing of crimes against humanity? I followed German law, right? What we did was German law. You have no standing here. You can't try me. This is what they're going to try to say here. Oh, we're just following orders. No, we need more. There's been 25 whistleblowers of 35,000 people. Come forward now and talk about the crimes you said, because the whole thing's getting taken apart. We're never, you can't, first off, I think the counterterrorism and that should be put to another department. I think the federal law enforcement investigator ought to be somehow maybe tied to the U.S. attorneys. It has to be restructuring. I think the FBI's got to go away. Not that the functions that the FBI does should be put. Do you agree? I mean,
I do.
You do agree.
I agreed for some time.
You do agree.
Yeah, I don't think.
And you knew so many great agents.
I
At
love
first
the
in
FBI.
16.
I love the FBI. I mean, I was their man of the year 7 years ago. I've gotten awards from them for prosecuting their most important cases. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a junior FBI agent. I love the FBI, and it's a tragedy what they've done to it. But you're never going to.
So what has to happen? What has to happen?
Right. It went too deep into it because you expect an FBI agent to not be a Nazi prison guard. You expect an FBI agent to exercise their own judgment that, hey, this is just too far. I'm not some kind of schmuck here. You're making me dress up like a Nazi stormtrooper to arrest Roger Stone. That's a little ridiculous. And then you're bringing CNN with you.
Oh, and
you're bringing CNN.
They tip CNN and get down there. What about the people at Danbury? There are these people that are praying in front of abortion centers. The most devout Catholics I've ever seen. These people have no money. They got 5, 6, 7 year sentences. The FBI comes to the thing and kicks down the door like a bunch of jackboots. It's just like the Gestapo.
You just don't do
it. FBI is the American Gestapo. It has to be taken apart brick by brick. And it has to then be either rebuilt or farmed out to different agencies. So some of the functions have to be done, but it can't be saved. It can't be saved. It's the politicization is too down into the core fabric of the institution.
Yeah, and I was always expecting until maybe a year or two ago, but I always expected to be some kind of revolt by the agents, knowing that they just wouldn't take it anymore.
Because they never thought we'd be back. The reason it wasn't?
They'd whimper about it, but
they never really thought
except the guys who did it.
Looking on the inside of the apparatus of the administrative and deep state, they never in a million years ever thought we'd be back in power.
Yeah.
They said, we've got this. We have the media, we have Wall Street, we have Silicon Valley, we have all state power. What they have is more powerful than the way the Chinese Communist Party rolls, but it's the same model. They never, ever, ever envisioned they would come back. That's why. What do you think they're over the? Why do you think Weissman? These guys are talking. McCabe's on TV talking about leaving the country. Why are they working on a Friday night? McCabe, brother. Let me tell you something, dude. You can go to the ends of the earth, and we are going to track you down.
Yeah.
You can go to Antarctica. And was it Stork or Strzok?
Strzok.
We're going to have an open court. We're going to have that text message you sent so I can smell the Walmart.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to smell a lot of Walmart, bro. Okay. You're going to smell it. So you and your ex-girlfriend, you should be sweating tonight. Okay. You're mocking and ridiculing the American people, the greatest people on the face of the earth, in the history of the earth. You detest the American citizens. And guess what? The American citizens put President Trump back in power, won for the third time, his second administration, because they hate you and they hate what you've done to this country. And that is what we, in our righteous indignation, we have a duty and we have a fiduciary responsibility, an obligation to this nation, to every patriot grave, back to the revolution, to make sure that we fairly, transparently, but relentlessly bring you to justice.
Couldn't have said it. I mean, yes, I second it. The reality is that when you're talking about an FBI agent You're talking about the highest level of law enforcement, and they should be able to distinguish between lawful and unlawful orders. And the thing went so far, even when their own brothers and sisters were getting tortured, the whistleblowers. I mean, they wouldn't let the whistle. They would fire. They suspend the whistleblower, and then they said the whistleblower couldn't have another job, so the guy'd have to starve to death. And at that point, all the FBI agents should have rose up and said, "What are you doing?" And look, they're smart enough to know that this is Gestapo stuff. I mean, they're the guys who came, the women and the men who came into my office, my house and my office, they were very respectful. Uh, but even them, I couldn't understand what the hell you're doing this. I mean, you know me. I mean, I, I, I worked with the FBI. I brought their most important cases of the 20th century. They ransacked my entire apartment. They ransacked my law office. And then a year and a half later, they write a letter to the grand jury saying there's no probable cause to believe that he committed a crime. So how in God's name did they end up?
Disgusting.
How in God's name did they end up
Disgusting.
doing
But
that?
hey, different than you guys, we're resilient. We took the punches. We got up off the canvas. We dusted ourselves off and we've punched back, and we're going to punch back even harder. You guys you don't believe in this country. You smell the Walmart people, so you don't believe in the citizens of this country. All you're doing is thinking about whining on TV. McCabe, I have friends and relatives are very nervous, and they were thinking about leaving the country. Leave the freaking country, dude. Don't sit on CNN and whine like a woman, like a little girl.
Think he's getting
You're yeah. McCabe, they can give you all the pardons you want. Okay, give you all the pardons. We will find a way to work around all that and to bring you to justice, to bring Comey to justice, Brennan to justice, all of them, all the intel guys, all 51 that signed, and you knew it was a lie. And this man right here, brave enough, and called me in on the laptop from hell. You to throw an election. You knew it wasn't Russian disinformation. You lied to the American people immediately on the afternoon of the 20th. Your security clearance should be stripped in perpetuity. Your pension should be stripped in perpetuity. And the investigations of all you guys at the same time calling Millie back to active duty to court-martial him for treason and to send him to Leavenworth for the rest of his life. So,
well, now I'm going to show you that language. Okay.
Okay.
So here's the Nixon part. For all offenses against the United States, which Richard Nixon has committed or may have committed or taken part in during that period.
okay.
Now here's the language in the
Okay. I'm gonna hold this up.
okay. Here's the language in the Hunter Biden.
Yep.
The pardon covers offenses that Hunter Biden has committed or may have committed
Okay.
or taken part in. They even put in the taken part in.
Wow. They did
During
the whole thing. Wow.
I mean, he began as a plagiarizer.
Wow.
Might as well end that way, right?
Wow.
Is that everything you said, word for word?
I guess the only limit is that it was 5 years, not 11 years.
Now, this professor
Okay.
wrote a Bowman here.
Yeah.
This guy, Franco Bowman, writes this article
Okay.
in 2022, and he says Ford's pardon of Nixon is the only occasion in American history in which a president purported to pardon someone for every possible violation of federal law, known or unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to the conclusion that is the only limitation. The rule posited here would come into play only if a president purported to pardon offenses of which he had no knowledge of all. This constraint is useful only insofar as it rules out a Nixon-style pardon of all federal crimes. It's unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Why can't you do it?
You can't do it because in the word pardon, when they
put unknown.
when they put
Yeah.
the word pardon in the Constitution, the framers made it clear they were adopting the pardon power of the King of England. The King of England could only pardon for crimes that he had knowledge of. He couldn't pardon for crimes that may have been committed, only those that were committed or were charged. So there's a very good argument that can be made that these blanket pardons are unconstitutional. Just like there's a
Blanket preemptive pardon.
Yeah.
What's a
Yeah.
totally unconstitutional.
So, I mean, they may not be worth the paper they're written on.
Okay. The reason this book's so important is that this is the blueprint for their prosecution. This is just not the history of it. Rudy actually walks through and lays out what has to happen to bring this crime family, this notorious crime family. Today was reported in the Daily Mail. They did a poll the worst president in modern history, and that includes Jimmy Carter and Bush 43. So that's a pretty good. When Biden's down in the depths, the worst president in modern history, he's going to be prosecuted. His family's going to be prosecuted. We don't care how many pardons you try to give out. We'll work around those. So people should just get the book and see how Rudy's pointing us down the direction, downfield about how we do this.
We're not just going to sit back and accept those pardons.
No way, no way.
And not only that, even if the court were to say they were constitutional, there are other ways. But
No,
I mean,
yeah,
the first challenge would be the constitutionality of those pardons. And it'll be such a damn scandal. I mean, the court is affected by. I mean, this is like undermining the very bedrock of American law when you give out like these blanket pardons to all of these people.
Look, they've done everything. They're taking law and license away. They're trying to bankrupt you. They're harassing you. All these bizarre jurisdictions with all this phony stuff. It's all crap. Okay.
Yeah.
And this guy has not lost a sense of humor. He has not lost his humanity. He's not lost the generous, giving person he is. It's amazing. They try to break what you're 7. How old are you now?
80.
Then we just had your 80th birthday. 80 years old. They try to break a man who's one of the greatest Americans in history and one of our top 2 or 3 greatest living Americans. I would put President Trump and Rudy as the top 1 and 2. They tried to break him, but your resilience, I know that comes from your faith, your family, the people around you. And it's been, you're a remarkable, not just a leader, you're an inspiration.
This is almost like a psychiatric session, but I wonder if I didn't go through September 11 brought me back to God. Brought me back to the fact that I'm not all powerful, that I need God. And I made a pact with Jesus and that I'll make the decisions and you make them right because this is way beyond me. I told Bernie that. I said, Bernie, this is beyond us. We never faced this before. We were prepared for 27 different emergencies. We never thought about airplanes going into buildings, taking them down. I said, we're just going to have to use our common sense and we're going to have to ask God to make it right. And since then, I've understood that, there's a higher power, a higher authority. So if I look in the mirror and talk to God or Jesus and I believe it's right, then I got to stick with it no matter what. I mean, that's what I think a principled person is all about. And if you can't do that, what use are you? And that's why I for the longest time, I had that view about the FBI and the other. Well, they're mostly good. They're mostly terrific. They're mostly great. I just don't think they're mostly good, mostly terrific if they didn't rebel against it. I mean,
the institution.
It went too far. It just went way.
It's institutional rot.
Little old ladies and
No.
dressing up like you're a Gestapo. And I mean, FBI is. I arrested some of the worst criminals in the 20th century. I don't ever remember having the FBI dress up like they were
No,
snorting.
it's ridiculous.
They used to wear coats and ties.
No, the institutions.
They used to always refer to you as Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah.
In fact, when I became mayor, I had my police department get trained in verbal jiu-jitsu, which is when you arrest a criminal, the worst thing in the world to do is to start cursing at him, get angry at him. You want to take everything down, no matter how bad he is. Biggest murderer, call him Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, you're under arrest for murder. Come with me. You'll actually keep things under, and the FBI was very good at that. And I had worked with the FBI for 17 years. And the police department, and I thought that was something the police department could learn from the FBI.
Let me get it. Mr. Ray, we're here. Mr. Comey, Mr. McCabe, we're here.
Yeah.
You comfort? You good? You good?
Yeah.
The shackles okay? They fit there.
Yeah.
Comey,
Those are the ones we used on Peter Navarro.
So let's
You guys
try to humiliate Peter Navarro at the airport.
put him in shackles. I mean, now how
Guys,
do you do that?
karma's a bitch. Okay. You'll see.
But I mean, you think about being a person that has a conscience, and how do you shackle Peter Navarro?
In an airport.
Put
Try to humiliate
on his legs.
Hey, you shackle Peter Navarro like a dog in an airport to humiliate him. Peter Navarro on the afternoon of January 2025, about 60 days from now, 45 days from now, will walk into the White House as a senior counselor to the president of the United States. And that president will be Donald John Trump. Suck on that. I hate you people. Okay. Let me be blunt.
What? So good.
Exactly.
Yeah, they do. They
what
really
you tried to do, what you did to this country is unforgivable. So, but we have to do it. We have to do it transparently, and we're going to have to do it methodically.
But speaking of hate, what do you expect from the Democrat Party? Of course, immediately when Trump won in 2016, they came at him right out of the gate. What do you expect from Democrats on Capitol Hill and in Washington?
They're doing it right now with the resistance. We have to power through that. I'm less concerned with Democrats than I'm concerned with Mitch McConnell and the Rhino Republicans, the established or the Republican Party that are trying to take out Matt Gaetz. They're going to try to take out Pete Hexas. Pete Hexas, we're going to get there. Joni Ernst put out a tweet. I'm very confident that Pete Hexas will be Secretary of Defense.
Well, she didn't come out against him, has she?
The
No,
president
she came out tonight and said,
Oh, good.
we've had constructive conversations. We're going to work on this together. He's going to come back and see it. So I think,
Well, that's good.
I think Senator Ernst is looking for an off ramp, and we will make sure that she's provided an off ramp.
It's a big one. I heard you on your show the other day talk about this, and you're absolutely right. This is a big one. It's bigger than you think. It's not just about Pete. It's about his whole presidency.
100%.
They can roll you on this. They're going to keep
You know
rolling.
this. I mean, we should never given up on Gates, but Matt made a decision. The president backed it up. We can't give up on Pete, and we can't give up on Cash. You can't, because they're going to Linsky you. They're going to pick you up one at a time. And folks, remember, please write this down on a Friday night as we leave you. This is the easy part. The nominations. This is the easy part. We're going to get into a grind. If you want to save your country, right, and return it to the constitutional republic that we were bequeathed, we got a lot of hard work. We're gonna have a lot of long nights and a lot of tough fights, and we're not going to win them all, but we're going to win most of them. Just like we got back in power by sticking with President Trump and having his back, and Rudy going through living hell. You have no earthly idea what this man has gone through. And I'm telling you, one of the greatest Americans in the history of this nation, and along with President Trump, one of the two greatest of Americans.
So while you're sitting there, all of you, whimpering and crying and begging for pardons, just want you to look at the title of this article: "Why Blanket Pardons Are Unconstitutional." Frank O. Bowman III. Frank won't appear now. He's hiding. I wanted to debate him. I offered him to come on. I said, "I'll debate you. I want to see why you changed your mind."
Yeah.
But this isn't the only one. There are a whole bunch. I'm just collecting them. I don't know why I'm collecting them. Maybe he won't even get pardoned. That would just be useless. But if you think we're just going to accept the fact that this guy can just let you all off the hook, the biggest criminal ever to be president can just pardon all the other criminals, you got another thing coming. We're going to fight you every way we can. That's legal. We're not like you. We won't do it illegally, but we'll do it legally. Oh, I don't know if you've noticed it. We're also smarter than you are. The only reason you look smart is because you have the press on your side.
I don't know if we're smarter, but I know this: we're more resilient and we're tougher.
We'll say more honest also.
We're more
That's not hard.
resilient and we're tougher, and we're going to be relentless.
See, I always maintain that you can't tell if the Democrats are effective or not, because if you can't tell how good a player I am if every time I shoot a basket I get 10 points and you only get 2.
Right.
I mean, so that whenever these political advisors, he's a great political advisor. Geez, I'd be a great political advisor too if I had 90% of the media on my side.
Well, we got the media that counts now. We have we have this, we have podcasts, we have all of it. So we broke the media. We broke them because, you know what? The American people have tremendous common sense. They reject ABC, they reject CBS, they reject MSNBC, they reject the New York Times. Democracy dies in darkness. Washington Post is going bankrupt again. Why? Because the American people have great common sense. And they just know they've been sold a bill of lies. They understand the country was on a terrible track. Economically, they allowed, like President Trump said, what kind of people allow 15 million illegal aliens into this country that economically destroy the working class African Americans and Hispanics in this country that are trying to get up every day and get on it? They're the citizens. Who does that?
People who want to ruin America.
Well,
and the reality is, do you know 12 million people came through Ellis Island?
Wow.
60 years.
Wow. And 15 million came to this country. We're going to do what we're going to do. So listen, at the White House tonight, as you burn the midnight oil, understand this. Yes, it's true. We are coming for you. So make sure that you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed on your blanket preemptive pardon.
Yeah. And I had the language is right here. I mean, first of all, the Bidens are great at plagiarizing. So,
he did that in law school, didn't he?
He did it.
Dumbest guy in the dumbest law school.
That's how I was introduced to him. His law school classmate said, "You won't believe how dumb he is," and he used to cheat all the time. He's a great guy. Well, he's wrong about the last one.
So, and if you lift, okay, so I know we got a bolt, but the last thing at the White House, you're going to get a blanket preemptive suppository.
Yeah.
On that cheery note,
Also, you have to accept the part. So if you didn't do anything, it's really going to single you out. The guy
well, then,
really
then,
interested
then
in
they strip
Fauci.
their Fifth Amendment rights.
Is he going to pardon Fauci?
Of course, he's going to pardon Fauci. He's going to pardon Fauci and all the dozens of guys. Over there.
If you this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. If you read his book, it is exactly
the real Anthony Fauci. It's 700 pages long. It's amazing.
It's exactly it's a little longer, but it's exactly like this book, and it lays out the case against Fauci
of how to prosecute him.
Wow. I mean, yeah, you could take about 200 pages out of there, and then you got the case against Fauci, and it was all about money. It was all about Fauci making a lot of money by making sure there was no treatment. Because if there's no treatment, you can get an exception, and you don't have to do tests, and you can put a dangerous vaccine on the market like they did.
Is this your Twitter feed I'm looking at? Some crazy stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody do that.
Rumble. There's another
Rumble.
one.
There you got it.
Offering tickets to the inaugural. On that one.
Before we let you go, see a closing message maybe from both of you on what good American people across this country can do, maybe support the president's nominees or just kind of support the movement going into 2025.
Just be a force multiplier. Here's what you do. It's what you're doing now. Watch the shows, break down the information, look at the Twitter feed, look at the social media. When the history of this age is written, it'll be Trump and it'll be the MAGA movement, just like in the age of Jackson, right? This is the most powerful political movement in American history. You have taken a man who they tried to destroy, who when he went back, the entire Republican Party, Rupert Murdoch sent an email out to all the Fox people in late January of 2021, said, we are going to make Donald Trump a non-person. He was not on Fox for almost 2 years and wasn't covered live, really,
He's got a report last night.
It's Murdochs are so funny. Murdochs are one of the worst things that's happened to this country, and what they've done and how they've done it, because quite frankly, we've won enough elections. This should have never been allowed to happen. Okay. The Republicans won enough elections that this country's been on a slide for 40 years since President Reagan left. And because the Murdochs tapped you along and got people to focus on the shiny toys that were not important. Providentially, this is why Donald Trump, as imperfect as he is, and he's quite imperfect, he is an instrument of divine will. He is a providential figure. We are lucky that he came along and that he had the moral courage when the election was stolen from him. He went back to Mar-a-Lago. He dusted himself off and said, no, I shall return, and I am going to return. And this audience had the back. What you have to do is what you've been doing. Become a force multiplier. We don't need you to write a check. What you need to do is just get to social media, make this show as big as possible, get it in front of your friends. Say, you got to watch this content. You got to see that, and support the sponsors. Right. And by the way, if you think the products and services are good, and I think we've done a pretty good job of making sure we got the products and services that match up, support the sponsors and be a force multiplier. And a force multiplier doesn't cost you anything. So just get out there and just keep doing it and get in people's faces like you've been doing for the last 4 years. The big fight's in front of us, and it's going to be tough. And people are going to say, oh, you got to moderate. You got to do this. Hey, you're here watching on Friday night because you're the hardcore. You're a cadre. You're the tip of the spear, and you're with hardcore. We ain't never going to quit. The people around us are never going to quit.
They tried everything they can to get us.
We're just getting geared up right now.
So I just second all that. I'm going to say something about him. I think this.
Stop.
No, please. Now you just shut up and listen to me. Okay. You never shut up. You got to shut up and listen to me. This wouldn't have happened without him. I was there in 2016. He wouldn't have won without him in 2016. He needed that practical political judgment that he, Dave Bossy, brought to it. I can remember him making choices about, do we go to Michigan or do we go to Pennsylvania or do we go to Minnesota? Donald Trump was a great candidate, but he just didn't have that political knowledge. He came on the campaign, he replaced Manafort, who actually did his job in getting the delegates, but he really didn't have the vast political mind. This guy understands. I've always said this. He understands the Trump voter better than anyone. It's just part of him. And without him, this wouldn't have happened originally or the comeback. And he's been every day on radio, on television. And the English guy, Russell Brand said to me that if you and Bannon had the hard drive in 24 instead of 20, a requisite number of the American people would have found out about it because of the networks that's set up. And the election would have been very different. I think he's right. I mean, this network that you have a great deal to do with setting it up and showed us how to do is the reason why we can now get our message out in a country in which they want to destroy our right of free speech.
But that's these people. These people are.
I can't understand.
We have an army of the awakened, and this army is going to drive us home.
Talk about it, and I'm not going to ask him to talk about it. This guy went to prison for this. I mean, it's to me, it's like I'm sorry, you're going to think I'm a weakling, but it sometimes it makes me cry that this happened to my country. Come on, it makes me cry that
for a misdemeanor.
Yeah,
Danbury prison's been around for 100 years, and they go, "We've never had a misdemeanor."
A misdemeanor, which they have done in excess over and over and over again. So in any event,
thanks for the kind words.
No, it wouldn't be possible without Steve Bannon. So,
but thank you.
I'm going to tell you that, and I know what I'm talking about. I was there. I watched it. I saw it.
Well,
and
I was there.
I tell you the truth.
I was there to see everything that you did, and you're very humble, one of the humblest men I've ever met, and just a great guy. Rudy is just as great behind the scenes, and when you're dealing with him, none of the intense pressure, it never changes. You always get the same Rudy. So,
well,
you're an American original, sir.
Well, let's all stick together. You know, we came this far. Now we got to get over the rest of it so that we can pass on to our children and their children a better country than was given to us. That's what we're supposed to do as Americans. And if we do that, then who cares what anybody else thinks? God bless America. We'll see you on Monday.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given